Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling is facing a ton of criticism over a recent tweet critical of transgender women. So now on Twitter, she had wrote that people could, quote, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Okay, all that perfectly fine, right? Live your best life in peace and security. Again, fine. But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real, question mark. I stand with Maya. Hashtag this is not a drill. Now let me give you some background on this in case you're not familiar with why I stand with Maya is trending on Twitter. So this is Maya Forstater, right? Now she was a tax expert at the Center for Global Development, and her employer decided that they would not renew her contract. Now why? Well, it appears that Forstater had used offensive and exclusionary language about transgender women in her tweets, including saying that, quote, men cannot change into women and that discrimination against transgender women can, quote, hurt men's feelings. Oh, because they're not really women, they're men, right? So kind of disgusting. And I'm sure there are more disastrous tweets as well, but you can tell that this person is pretty transphobic. So now what gets J.K. Rowling in trouble is, again, elevating this person and basically stating that, yes, she agrees with that person that transgender women aren't actually women. Okay, so now let's get one thing out of the way. Trans women are women. Sorry, if you disagree, sad day for you. Doesn't really affect you. You shouldn't really care. And why, by the way, why does something that doesn't affect you, why do you think about it? Why does it trigger you and bother you so much? Weird. I don't quite understand. You might want to think about that yourself. See, for most normal people, right? Like myself, I don't think about it. I don't think that, oh man, and it doesn't bother me. Thinking of that, oh man, I can't believe this person wants to be a woman. Well, obviously you're man. Oh man, that really, really upsets me and triggers me for some reason. No, it shouldn't bother you at all because it doesn't impact you at all. It doesn't affect you at all. And so why do you get so upset? Why are you getting so triggered by this? So much so that you would go out and tweet. So now, again, trans women are women. And if your feminism, by the way, if you're a feminist, call yourself a feminist, but your feminism is not intersectional, does not include members of the trans community, then it's not really feminism, is it? And so look, here's the other thing, right? Trans women, trans people face the most hostility out of everyone in our culture. They're attacked in bathrooms. I know there is the trope, right? That's completely untrue. That, oh no, it's the trans, the guy's going to put on a dress and he's going to go and assault women in the bathroom. Well, what are my kids in there? Well, again, that doesn't happen. They're actually more likely to be sexually assaulted in bathrooms or just beat up or killed for who they are. Black trans women are especially the most vulnerable out of all transgender people. So just let that sink in, right? So now this woman puts out a bunch of turfy stuff on Twitter, and her employer says, "Man, we don't like that because you kind of represent our company. That looks terrible for us. So now we're not going to fire you, but we're not just going to renew your contract. So your contract's coming up, and we just don't want you to work with us anymore." Okay. Now you could argue that she shouldn't lose her job over it, right? Over her personal beliefs, right? Oh, but here's the thing. Social media, the way that social media works is that you're basically taking a megaphone and you're announcing your thoughts to the world. You want everybody to hear it, right? I mean, or else you wouldn't post on social media. So when you do that, you forfeit a certain level of privacy when you post stuff like that on social media. Even if you believe that shouldn't be the case, unfortunately, in our reality, that's true. So employers, for example, look, we all know and have been told, Don't post racy stuff on your social media. Don't post this. Don't post that, because your employers, your future employers, will look at that. They will look at your social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your MySpace. I don't know if that still exists. And so, look, they'll use that to decide whether or not you would be a good fit. I don't know why they use that metric. Maybe they shouldn't, but right now they do. And so if you disagree with the practice, that's one thing. I get it. But right now it is the way it is. And if you start broadcasting hateful stuff, well, that's not going to look good for you, man. It's not. So now she filed a complaint against her employer, saying that her thoughts should be a protected characteristic under the UK's Equality Act. Now remember, she's expressing transphobic thoughts, right? I don't like trans women. Men can't be women. They can't just change. They're not real women. And so, okay, those are your thoughts. Well, how does that make you a protected class? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, that would kind of be ironic in a way. My transphobia should be protected, but trans people should not be protected. That doesn't make any sense. Now, a judge saw through that argument, saw that it was pretty absurd, right? And so they ruled that yes, that being transphobic is not protected, and that her viewpoint creates a quote intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment that is not worthy of respect in democratic society. Who would have thought that saying outrageous things about another person's identity would be frowned upon in the workplace? Who knew? Or anywhere for that matter. Again, you're literally taking a megaphone and putting that out there. So it's not as if you're actually, having your privacy invaded, like your computer hacked or your messaging apps hacked and posted for the entire world to see. No, you were literally blasting that out there into the ether and saying, yes, I am proud to be a freaking TERF. And then saying, I can't believe that somebody would fire me for being a TERF. What does this world come to where I can't just be openly transphobic and hate a bunch of people who, suffer through a lot of, abuse and violence and sexual violence and all other types of violence and being killed just for who they are. But no, I'm the victim here because I just had to open my mouth. Again, if you're somebody who's a TERF, who's transphobic, and you're out there thinking that you're the victim, you're completely wrong. You might want to take a look at that, right? Transgender people, again, have been going through a lot of terrible things. And so now what makes this bad for J.K. Rowling is that you've got somebody with millions of followers, with a big platform, a big voice, who is justifying hate against that group of people. So now, of course, she did get some backlash. In fact, she's getting a lot of backlash, rightfully so. Amanda Jett Knox tweets at her, "My daughter, who is trans, is a big fan of yours. It breaks my heart to see you post something indicating that discrimination against her is perfectly fine behavior for an employee. The world's most credible medical orgs affirm trans people. Please catch up. Please catch up." Agreed. Now, Noel is entering peak holiday spirit. Says this, "I grew up as a trans child reading your books as an escape. I would often pick out names from characters to give myself before I ever felt comfortable in who I was. This decision to support people that hate me and want to do me harm, it brings me to tears. Why? Why?" Again, all to protect somebody who blasted out their opinions and then, got... And look, you have free speech, right? At least in America, you got free speech. But that speech is not free of consequences. And so I have to keep telling people that. Free speech just means the government can't shut you down. Again, this is here in America. The UK obviously has different rules, more hate speech laws. And so they're a little bit more strict about what you can say there. Nonetheless, right? So the government didn't go after her. Her employer said, "I'm not interested. Just not interested. Like, don't spread your turfy opinions around." And that's it. Now, one more here. Actually, two more. Incompatible with Human Dignity said, the saddest thing is that the woman who inspired millions of kids to be good to each other, include each other despite our differences, and stand up against those who would oppress us, is now a bigot herself. Good job. It's really sad to see a lot of that hatred and division being something that is so casually accepted now. Look, I remember when I was growing up. I remember when I was in school, and the F word would go flying. Not the 4-letter word, but the 3-letter word. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about. There would be constant homophobic attacks against people who are actually gay, in school, but also those who weren't. And it was used as a constant line of attack. I grew up with that, right? Seeing people attack each other. And look, I was not as always evolved as I am today. And so I've said things that I'm not proud of on that front. And I'm completely honest with you guys. I'm not a perfect person, and I take ownership. And I've said things that I 100% regret. But now transgender people are facing that every day now. And so that's wrong. Just like, the LGBT community, or the, people who were gay back then were getting harassed and killed for who they are. Now you have the transgender community that's also being attacked that way, even more so now than they were before. And so, look, this is a disaster. Just let people be who they are. It doesn't impact you negatively. Why put people in actual physical danger? Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. It's ridiculous. Why should you care about someone else's identity, what they identify as? If you're so hung up on that, I got to question you if you have anything better to do with your time than being somebody's genitals police, being the sex police. I mean, seriously. Go do something else. Go write a book. Go play a video game. Go do something. Go run a marathon. Just do something else. Do something else. Finally, one more tweet here. And I just thought this was amusing. Gallifreyan Jedi posted this, quote, Harry Potter and the Transphobe Stone. So, look, I'm just gonna leave it there. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.